I was just talking to Patrick, and he goes, they call him Mr. Cool. I don't think that's it.
No. Mr. Serenity since about 1995.
All right, Steve Straza. I'm very excited about today's episode. We have one Tom Basso on the podcast, a market wizard. Yep. Not the first market wizard, surprisingly, we've interviewed, which is great. But our mutual colleague here, Jason from the research team here, Jason. He introduced us to Tom. I mean, I've been aware of Tom for a long time, as have you. I too have read Market Wizards. I'm very familiar, but thanks to Jason for making the intro, and I'm very excited to talk to him.
Tom is one of these guys who, like you said, everybody knows he's a market wizard, but he's overly generous with his time. You could find him out there. He does a tremendous amount of content. He's, in addition to being in Market Wizards, he has published his own books. He has this extensive blog that we were just talking about with him offline. So we can go in a number of different directions. But what's always appealed to me about Tom is he's one of those guys that just exudes calmness or zen about his trading. He's one of these guys who, you hear him talk about trading, you're like, he's got it all figured out. You know right away just from hearing him talk about it that he's on to something. And that tends to be the case with a lot of trend followers. So I'm excited to kind of ask about that.
Yeah, I want a little bit of what he's got. So let's bring Mr. Serenity up on the screen. Tom Basso, welcome to the show. Thanks for making time to hang out with us today.
Hey, good to be here, guys.
Hey, Tom.
It is fantastic to meet you. Steve and I, both big fans. We all trade different things, but as traders, we all speak the same language, right? Doesn't matter if you trade commodities or futures or currencies or cryptocurrencies or stocks or options. We all speak the same language. We all go through the same things, and we all also try to do things outside of work to keep ourselves sane. And of all the guests we've had on the show up to this point, and we've had 30, 40 guests at this point, the vibe I get from you, Tom, is that you might be the most chill and just relaxed trader of the whole bunch. How did you get there, Tom? What's your secret?
I'm pretty chill. Well, there's lots and lots of different interesting ways of approaching that question. The first thing is, back in my 20s, I was not chilled. I was over-caffeinated. I go through a pot or two of coffee a day, and I was totally wired, had a tremendous amount of energy. I just worked at least 16 hours a day and fell asleep exhausted. And it wasn't just with trading. I was getting an MBA. I was working as an engineer, doing this at night, trading, and using vacations to go raise money for our investment advisory that we put together back then, and really working hard. I could not take that all on at my age of 72 now. But I had a lot of energy back in those days. But little by little, I realized that when you're that wired and you're sort of, I would call it, in your conscious mind and just trying to get the next thing done and the next thing done, and you lose the ability to sort of step back and see life in a more general way. And the way I actually kind of made the transition is sort of to watch myself be Tom Basso. So imagine that you have an observer self as part of your brain that's sort of all the time trying to keep track of that I'm moving my hand right now, or anything, just that I'm getting wired. I'm getting excited about the stock market going down like 4% today. That's unnerving to a lot of people. To me, it's just another day at the funny farm. I'm net short. I had a big day. No big deal. Tomorrow would be another day. I got to do the same thing all over again that I did today. There's not a lot to get excited about. But if you were to be getting excited, having the ability to see yourself getting excited, you could say, well, wait, if you're trying to be sort of the perfect trader, the Mr. Serenity type of trader, is being excited a helpful mental state to be in when you're trading? And most people would answer, no, it's stressful, it keeps me up at night, etc. Observing yourself being excited allows you the ability to then say to yourself, there's no reason to be excited. I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow. I did the same thing yesterday. It's just another day. Just move your stops, do your thing, do your interview with Sean and Steve, and go have dinner, and then I got to go to choir practice. It's just another day, right? And I think that's been very helpful. And the way that I accomplished that feat of being able to watch myself was to put a sticky note in front of my monitor, and I had an alarm go off about every 30 minutes. And the sticky note said, aware, be aware. And I would ask myself every time the alarm went off, if I was sitting at the computer, was I aware of what I was doing, or was I lost in thinking about and doing what I was doing? In other words, could I somehow be watching myself all the time do this stuff? And that's what made the difference, because pretty soon I'm anticipating that alarm going off. I'm already, catching myself every 5 minutes disappearing into my spreadsheet or my program, or looking at the markets, or answering a phone call, and I wasn't aware. And so that I start getting practice, being aware. Pretty soon it shows up all the time.
What is it that
all the time?
did something happen, Tom, that made you like place more importance on being self-aware, checking your emotions, looking inward more? Like, how did you?
It was just the ability to real time see things that I would be saying or doing, or mannerisms I would use, or decisions I would make, that from the hindsight of being able to step back at the end of the day and analyze everything, I would say, I probably should have gone a different direction there. I should have said it a different way, or treated that person differently. And so what it's done is it's made a big difference in, my interactions with the cashier at the grocery store. It's my goal in life to make these people who are on a production line doing the scanner, and they always have these flat looks on their face like they're a robot. And I used to work in a grocery store when I was in high school.
Yep.
I used to bag groceries and stock shelves. I was very good with being 6'3". I could reach the top shelf. And I was big enough to be able to carry 40 pounds of tomato paste or something. But my goal is always to make them laugh, to say something to them to break up the monotony of their day. So, but I realize that if I don't do that, I think back, I'm going to the car, and I think I wasn't aware there. I should have sensed that person really needed some cheering up, and just jump in and do something. And so it's really served me in so many different ways. Golf, I can tell whether I'm getting excited that I got a chance to make a birdie, and I have to dial myself back and say, no, this is just one more putt, just line it up the way you always do, make the same stroke you always make, and let the process take care of itself. Very similar to trading. Just be balanced, run your stops, run your algorithms, run your strategies, execute them flawlessly, put it away, and come back tomorrow.
I call it the second shot jitters, Sean. You hit a great tee shot, and you almost always bomb your second shot because you don't want to mess it up. You're all in your head. You're getting emotional. You're all nervous about it. So that's great.
I can't tell you how many eagle opportunities I've completely blown.
The getting jitters over a golf shot typically is thinking about the future. If you can stay in the now.
Right. Wow, you're right.
Guys that win tournaments, what do they always say? They say, well, I just concentrated on every shot. Just
one shot at a time.
I took one shot at a time. And they say it over and over again, and golfers don't do it, but I try to.
Enjoy the Ride is such a nice name for the website. Where'd you come up with that? That's your thing now?
That's a story. I was helping my relatives out by telling them my head signals, because a lot of my relatives, brother-in-law, stepson, just different people, my brother. And so I was on Facebook, and I had just taken off of a hedge that ended up being a loss, but it was a huge update for the stock market. So I was making a bunch of money on my underlying stocks. So, it was kind of like we lost on one, but we made it on the other. And so I finished the post with enjoy the ride. And I didn't know this, but a whole bunch of old friends from the money management industry were now following me on Facebook. And so I say, enjoy the ride. And everybody responded to that. And wow, that's such a great philosophy. Just enjoy the ride. It's going to be up and down. Don't worry about it. Just keep doing it. And so I said, well, there's such a positive response from enjoy the ride. I'll start putting that every now and again in my posts. So, well, it got to be where I put it at the end of almost every post. And people then started picking up on it and actually saying it back to me in their posts or their responses. And then one time I was out golfing and a follower on Twitter, which had now I'd moved to Twitter and I was getting all sorts of followers there, moved to LinkedIn, got some followers there, and I'm posting in three spots and putting enjoy the ride. Well, I put ETR because on Twitter, you had the 280 character limit and I ran out of space. So I just put ETR and I left and I went and played a round of golf. I come back from golf and one of my followers is saying, what the heck does ETR mean? Somebody else answers, enjoy the ride, stupid. He ends every post with it. And so then it became an acronym all of a sudden. And now it's ETR. So I put it on my golf shirt and we have it in various places in logo form on letterheads and on the website. And yeah, quite the
Well, Tom, your mindset,
serenity and enjoy the ride. Those are my two labels, I think.
yeah. Well, Tom, your mindset obviously is aspirational for many traders, right? We all want to have the level of Zen that you have. Well, I'm curious what your thought is. Do you think that you got to this level of the ability to channel serenity and this Zen state? Did you get there in part thanks to your success, or do you think that came first? The serenity and the way to be aware of yourself, all that came first, which then enabled you to be more successful. Which do you think came first?
The serenity came first because Jack Schwager called me Mr. Serenity after I'd already been a successful money manager for many years, but just not as well known. Once Jack tagged me with Mr. Serenity and stuck me in New Market Wizards, then everybody in the world knew who I was. And I probably have more followers now than I would have had when I was being a money manager. That was 20 years ago. I've been retired. The Mr. Serenity thing came in more as I was coming up and starting to realize that I had to be not only disciplined as a trader, but when you're a money manager, you realize you have another whole level of psychological pressure coming from clients. So at any point in time, you're having lunch and the phone rings and Lisa, my receptionist and secretary, says, Tom, you got a call from so-and-so. Okay, I'll take it, put away the lunch and grab the phone. And you got a half an hour to deal with a client asking whatever dumb question they probably wanted to ask that they probably asked you last year and you already told them the same answer and they're going to ask you next year and you're going to tell them the same answer. And but there's that pressure because ultimately the client could always leave and say, okay, Tom, you were my hired gun to manage my money for the last 2 years, but I'm going a different way now. And, if you do that with enough clients and they all leave, you are not a money manager anymore. So you have that layer of pressure on you, plus just the normal pressure of being a trader in the markets and the markets trying to exert their stressors and all that. So I had to deal with a lot of that. And by being aware and putting myself in very balanced mental states, by having a client ask me a question and try to make sure that I didn't react to the question emotionally, but kept thinking, it's his money I'm managing. He has the right to ask me whatever he wants. And I have the right to give him an answer that's truthful and that I feel is the right answer. And I can't control the way he takes that. I can only control that I stay balanced and unemotional and answer the question as truthfully as I can. So it really helped. And as that became my being, my kind of Mr. Serenity self, that's when Jack met me. And thought, wow, this guy is weird. He's very, I mean, you look at most of the other chapters in the various Market Wizards book, and he's got these overly caffeinated New York chain smoking
Yeah.
alcoholic, push them, pedal to the metal guys that some of which blew up along the way if you really study history. And some of them aren't alive anymore. They just have gotten old or retired, or they went and did real estate or whatever. Got out of the industry. But here I am, 50 years, just chugging along, having a good time.
Yeah, those are like the Jesse Livermore style traders.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's a commonality here, I think, and Sean, I know you've noticed it too, among the most Zen traders. It seems to me that a lot of you guys are trend followers. Is there something there? Is that fair? I'm thinking, Sean, Jerry Parker has this calmness as well. To Ed Sakota seemed to have it. Even some of the newer guys like Brian Shannon, David Lundgren, they have this like calmness about them, and they're all heavy trend followers. Is there something there, Tom?
Yeah, there may be, because when you're a trend follower, although I have some strategies these days that I would not call you could call them counter trend or very short-term trend. So I'm going against the long-term trend in those cases, but essentially they could be considered mathematically trend following in a way too. But I think survive as a trend follower psychologically, you got to realize that over my lifetime, I've probably been somewhere in the 33% reliable. So in general terms, two negative trades for every positive trade. And this is over 50 years of trading. So I've got a good data sample.
Right.
I don't know, tens of thousands of trades that I've had something to do with, probably. Probably more than that, but could be in the 100,000 plus range now. But you have to survive mentally, you have to realize that it's 2-to-1. Two losers for one gainer, and you have to play the statistical game. And if you can't put your mind into the statistics of it all and realize that you have a 2/3 to 1/3 chance that this next trade you're putting on is going to be a loser, so I better manage the risk well, I better size my positions properly. If I do find the one that is the winner, I got to let it ride because it's got to pay for two losers. I got to make a big enough profit on that one to pay for the two losers. And you get into this sort of statistical mindset that allows you to just let the statistics play out. And so what I always tell people, new traders, your goal as a trader is to do your next 1,000 trades. People get really excited about, oh, I'm putting on this trade, and I wonder if it's going to be a big winner for me, a loser, whatever. They're anticipating, their excitement level's high, they're nervous. If you start saying, this is just the next trade in my next 1,000, to build a database so that I can look back at those 1,000 trades and realize that 2/3 of them were losers, 1/3 was gainers, and I made money over that time period. It de-emphasizes the single trade and concentrates you on a longer term process.
Everything you said there, Tom.
Jerry Parker must trade, what, 200 things or whatever it is?
Yeah, he trades a lot.
I mean, I trade 38 things, and that's a lot for most people. Of course, he's got a staff. I'm a solo trader, so I got to keep it manageable. But I want to have quality of life. I don't want to sit here in the office all day long having to deal with this.
Well, Tom, you everything you said about how you're able to keep it cool as a trend follower, all that makes sense. I will also add, I think Straza, excuse me, Steve. I think
Never should
what we
have called him,
find.
Tom. I never should have said anything.
I know. Now it's in my head. I think what we find when we talk to people who are trend followers is the other thing that kind of keeps them cool and keeps them zen is that I feel like trend followers, better than anybody else who trades any other style of trading, they're very good at acceptance. They're very good at saying, hey, I'm going to do what I can control. Position sizing, following my system, honoring my stop losses. And then whatever the market does after that, I'm going to let it do it. And there's a level of acceptance, right? You just, okay, set free. Would you agree with that, Tom?
Yeah, it's just the next trade of your next 1,000. And you don't give it more credit than that. You don't get excited about a day that's really profitable, because in my brain, I'm remembering those days where I lost several percent in a day. Or I was in a drawdown and I was struggling to get out of the drawdown and it seemed like it would take forever. So you don't get excited about good days. I mean, I had a huge day today, probably the largest day I've had in retirement and profits
Wow.
today.
We caught you on a good day.
Well, it's just another day. Tomorrow I could lose half of that back.
Right.
I don't, I don't, I don't all of a sudden say, "Hey, my wife, Brenda, let's go out to dinner tonight and celebrate." I won't even tell her that we had a good day.
That's great. I've heard that before from some others, Sean.
Yeah, that reminds me, and we've brought this up a few times in the past, but it reminds me of one thing that Peter Brandt taught me years ago, is that when he thinks about his trading profits and his P&L curve, as far as he's concerned, it's not a profit until he's closed it and it's booked it. He's only tracking his closed P&L. Like anything that's open P&L, it's like it's the market's money. It's not my money until the trade is closed. And I mean, for you, Tom, on a day like today, you had a great day, but a lot of those positions are still open.
Oh yeah,
right? You're not going to count that money until it's closed.
Yeah, but I don't even do that, because in the United States, it's mark to market at the end of the year to December 31st. It's mark to market immediately. So realized, unrealized, and futures trading doesn't make a whole lot of difference. And so the equity is what the equity is. It goes up and down. As I've often said in various interviews, if you guys were to hand me another $1 million at the end of this interview, what I would do is ship it into my broker account and I'd be managing $1 million more. I would still be in this house, in the same office, drive the same car, have my house in Payson, go on a cruise January 1st like I planned. Everything would stay the same. I just have a bigger number and my contract sizes would go up by a few and I'd be doing just exactly what I'm doing. It doesn't change anything. So, I mean, and the same token, if my account goes down 100 grand today or whatever, that's not going to change anything I do tomorrow. I'm just going to do the same thing all over again. So it gets you into the steady state mind that I think is very useful to trading long term. And I've been able to stay in that sort of mindset for, quite a long 5 decades now. It's hard for me to imagine that I've been doing this 50 years. It's crazy.
This is something I need to work on, because I definitely go out to dinner more, guys, when I'm doing well.
Well, Steve, don't tell Tom about the all the work you have getting done at your house right now. Must be a bull market when you got all this work going on at your house.
I want to talk about education next. You've written a couple books. Obviously, the blog. You're huge on education. Talk to me about why that's so important. I've heard stories. People will email you. You respond. You help them out. Like, you're just huge. You have a beautiful community of traders who are following you and that you're mentoring. Why is that important?
Well, for me, they say that if you can teach something, it sort of helps you hone your own skills. And sometimes when I get the simplest of questions, it just takes me back to when I was 24 and trying to figure out this particular issue with trading. And it's not only a way of giving back to the industry that has been so kind to me, but it's also a way of reminding myself about the little basics that make you successful at doing what you're doing. And sometimes the questions are challenging. They really get me thinking, and maybe even give me a thought that might lead to a new idea on my own trading. Because I'm still trying to get better at what I'm doing. I'm not resting on my laurels at all. I got research projects going on. I'm consulting on a new trading platform that I'll use to try to automate what I'm doing even more, and ship the orders in. And so when we get off with this interview, I have another Zoom call with the developers of the platform to actually try to send our orders through the brand new version of their platform this afternoon. So my tonight orders going in for tomorrow will be on this new platform, and we tested it this morning successfully, and they're making some tweaks to it so that it makes it easier and faster for me to do what I got to do tonight. And eventually we hope to offer the product worldwide to
You stay
traders
busy.
everywhere. So
Wow.
I've got stuff that I love to, challenge myself with and keep my mind sharp. And
Well, I love that you're 50 years in the business and you're still innovating. That's great. And you're
yeah.
open to new ideas.
Oh, I am. I mean, one of the major things I did in the last, I'd say, decade was due to Lawrence Bensdorp. I don't know if you've interviewed him at all. He's over in Portugal, and he's become a good friend. And he wrote a couple of books on multi-strategy trading that I just thought were just so easy to understand, and they hit my brain. And I said, this makes so much sense. I'm going to go down that direction with my research. And it's been highly productive at getting my equity curve very smooth. And so, yeah, things like that. I'm always looking for some conceptual philosophical idea. I can handle the math. I'm pretty good with computers. I'm pretty good with math. I understand the logic of trading and controlling position sizes and that. What I need is what new market should I be trading that I'm not trading now, where there's enough liquidity so that I don't have to worry about the size of the order or anything. I'm just in and out, no problem. Um, and what kind of interesting math that I'm not doing now would be a good diversification to what I'm doing now. It's really hard once you start doing trend following and you realize that, if you have a 21-day moving average, let's say, to make a simple example, and then you add a 15-day moving average, you're going to get a lot of the same positions in all these big runs. If cocoa is making new highs of all time, you're going to be in cocoa in all your strategies. And so it's really hard to come up with something that would be completely different off the wall, and that is reproducible, that I feel comfortable with. So I keep looking. It's getting less and less frequent that I find something new that I want to introduce into the process. But I keep talking to people. It keeps me in tune with what's trading out there and some of the issues people have, and so it's fun for me.
When it comes to just your trading, are you still as active today as in the past, or have you toned it down?
Yeah, I would say probably tonight I will put in probably close to 100 orders for tomorrow's markets in about 38 markets, 7 strategies, 5 time periods using, I guess, 5 different types of indicator sets. So there's a lot going on. It'll take me a good hour probably, because we're using the new platform. I've already spent, before I got on with you guys, I spent about a half an hour, maybe 20 minutes getting some of the stuff that I have to do manually out of the way. And then I'll do the automated part when we're off the line here. And then I'll be finished all the way through 24 hours till tomorrow.
Is that a typical day for you? About 100 trades?
Well, it's 100 orders.
Orders,
It's not
yeah.
100 trades. It's 100 orders. And out of, let's see, well, I can actually find out. Let's see, if we go this way, go there, and we look at completed trades. Well, let's see. Yeah, I had about, I don't know, 25 trades completed today.
So I find this interesting because, Steve, we don't interview too many people who trade like this. It sounds to me, Tom, tell me if I'm wrong, you put all your orders in while the market's closed.
Mm-hmm.
And then while the market's open the next day, things get filled. Some things don't get filled, but you're not in there micromanaging those entries. You're not watching tick by tick, that kind of thing.
No, I was this morning, I was having a second cup of coffee in bed till about 9 o'clock. Markets open here at 7:30. So that's an hour and a half after the markets open. Then I got up and I helped my wife clean up from last night's dinner party where I did all the cooking. And that took us till about 11 o'clock. And then we had to, we decided to go on a half an hour walk around the subdivision because it's 73 degrees and sunny here. It's gorgeous. And so we did that, had a nice lunch, some leftovers, and then I came in and started working on the manual stuff to get that out of the way, do this interview, do my automated.
Steve,
Yeah,
we don't,
great.
when we do these interviews, we like to be evergreen. We don't like to talk about what's going on in the market today or yesterday because it doesn't really matter what we're
Yeah,
talking about. But I
we can.
love hearing what you did today because
The
today,
market got slammed, and he's going for a joy walk.
right, the market got killed today. Today is December 28th or December 18th, excuse me, while we're recording this. The FOMC had their interest rate announcement, whatever, and the stock market blew up.
4% down.
And you just described to us the most delightful, beautiful, relaxing day.
Yeah.
You're probably the only person we'll talk to all week who can say that.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody
I
enjoyed
don't
the
know if
ride
that's
today
good or
more than
bad,
you.
but I don't know if it's good or bad, but that's the way I am. I didn't even look at my phone the whole, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes we were doing this big loop of the subdivision. I was pretty much looking at the landscaping. I love landscaping. I love maintaining my own yard and doing I took courses in pruning, would you believe? Landscape architecture, just for fun. I just decided I'd like to know more about it. And so I designed all of our houses, landscape architecture, and I maintain it myself. I don't hire anybody to do it. So I'm always looking at everybody else's landscaping to get ideas and to say, oh, why did he put that bush there? That is so stupid. Or this piece of cactus, somebody's going to get out of the car and go right into the side of that thing and they're going to have thorns in their leg. And so I'm always poking fun at people's landscaping schemes. But I didn't even look at the market when I was, doing my loop, and I came back in and it just was down another 2% since I left.
Well, normally we would ask, how are you affected being on the West Coast, being 3 hours away from, Eastern Standard Time? But you just answered that. It doesn't matter at all for you.
I am leaving January 1st on a cruise from the Seychelles to Singapore. I come home on the 21st. So 21 days, 22 days out of my normal environment here. I have already checked. They have Starlink on the ship.
Wow.
I will be taking my laptop and doing the same routine for about an hour, 45 minutes every day. In Singapore terms or Indian Ocean terms, it will probably be at like 10:30 at night or 6:30 in the morning. Everything's going to be really skewed because of the times. But I'll just keep doing exactly what I'm doing, and we hope to have it automated to the point where I can get it down to under an hour. My wife already knows that I take 1 hour a day to do what we do. It helps pay for the cruise, so she understands. And then the rest of the day, I'm on vacation. Nothing changed.
Let's talk more about the travel and the landscaping and the cruising. Why is it that on your website, when I go to more, there are all of these drop downs like health, golf, lifestyle, cooking, travel? What do these things have to do with your trading? Why did you feel the need to include them on your blog? Because I love this.
Because they are your lifestyle. And what I try to emphasize to traders, a lot of people that are traders view themselves as labeled themselves as I am a trader. So if they're in a cocktail party, hey, what do you do? I'm a trader. If they ask me that, what do I do? I can say, well, I trade the market some. I like to work out. I like to work in my yard. I like to play golf. We go on cruises every now and again.
Right.
Trading is just one subset of my life. And I recommend that for a lot of traders to quit thinking of yourself in terms of your job or your trading and put all your self-worth into that. It's a lot easier to just say, okay, well, that's just kind of what I do for an hour a day. Another hour a day, I go out and walk around my yard and prune a few things, or I go for a walk around the subdivision, staying healthy. I'm doing pretty well for 72 so far. I'd like to keep doing that. It's just not, I make wine in the mountains. I have my own, I make hobbyist wine levels. There's just a lot of things. I enjoy. Last night's dinner was awesome. The people that were here just absolutely were gushing over it, and the leftovers were delicious. So I mean, I just enjoy it. It's like I'm a chemical engineer by degree, and cooking sort of like chemistry, or just a little
Yeah.
of this and a little of that, and all of a sudden you got something different, and it's pretty tasty. And
So, Tom, I'm curious then. I'm sure you've come across this over the years. There's there's the school of thought that you espouse about how you should lead your life and your trading and how it all interplays with everything in your life. But there's another school of thought of traders who are all about you need to be passionate about trading. You need to be obsessed with it. It's got to be you got to be reading every book and you got to be back testing and you got to be doing this and it's hardcore 24/7.
Drinking green smoothies and waking up at 5 a.m. All the routine stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you when you hear that, what does that make you feel?
it makes me think that those people that are doing that will burn themselves out in about 7 to 10 years if they make it that long. Uh, it's very hard to keep at that level, and your family life sucks, and you're not going to go on any cruises for 21 days for sure. And it's just, I don't know. You think ahead and you ask yourself, okay, let's say I do this 50 years like Tom, and I do it at this intensity level by some miracle. What will my life, will I have any regrets when I look back over those 50 years? I have no regrets. I'm having a great time. I mean, it does not suck to be me. And so, I just have to say it's a tough way to go because, yeah, I'm all for learning. I'm still reading books. I'm trying to figure out how to get better, but I don't do it 24 hours a day. I enjoy tonight. We're going to the choral practice. I love singing. It's really fun. It's expansive for your brain to be able to look at a note. Your brain has to tell your vocal cord what that note is going to sound like. You have to listen to it and instantaneously adjust your voice so that you hit the note properly. And you're already reading the next note and it's into your brain and the cycle repeats. And you get done with an hour and a half of that, your brain's on fire. So it's really good exercise for your brain. And Brenda and I both love doing it. And we sing in two choral groups. One's for charity, one's for church. And we have fun with all of the other singers and know them socially. And it's just like a complete different from talking to traders or the website or being interviewed by you guys. Totally different thing. And so you switch your brain into different gears. And I remember there was one trader, was a very famous, I think it was one of the Niederhoffers, maybe. And it was the more conservative of the Niederhoffers, maybe not the one that was
Not Victor.
not Victor. I think it was Roy. I think it was Roy. I think he was like a concert violinist. And I mean, he played with some symphony orchestras and things. He viewed the markets as sort of like a music score. I found that so fascinating. But aren't you seeing where he's coming from? It makes a lot of sense to look at it because he's got other hobbies and other ways of looking at things. And I think that brings sort of a perspective to trading from outside of trading. And I think many times that's useful.
Well, I apologize. We should have, Steve, maybe done this at the top. So we're kind of going backwards here a little bit, Tom. But
Yep.
I'm curious. You mentioned that you're a chemical engineer by training.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you got to school, what you did in school.
Yep.
How does a chemical engineer end up being a enjoy the ride trend follower? Like, what happened? Where did your career path go wrong?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it went wrong or it just went. I just kind of went with it. I was trend following my career, I guess. I was a chemical engineer. I was designing distillation columns and exchangers and pumps and all sorts of stuff for a chemical company. And I realized that back, if you remember, you guys are probably too young to remember this, but back in the 70s, there was some ups and downs of the economy before Reagan came in and created Reaganomics, stabilized everything and created a growth economy. So I came out in 1974 and I realized, hey, I better put away some money because I might be unemployed during the next recession, which is probably lately coming about every 4 years. And we've already had 2 years without one, so we might be having another one in 2 years. I better, put away some money. So, money starts piling up and you start saying, well, I probably should do something with the money. And I had already been, owning some mutual funds from when I was a paper boy at 12 years old and buying mutual funds. And so I understood a little bit about investing, didn't know anything about what I was doing. I was completely stupid. And I just had the good success of being able to start in 1974 and catch the 75, 76 bull market, which funded a little bit of my ability to think about doing a house, getting married, all these different things, and at the same time start a futures portfolio, which took me 4 years of trading just to get to break even. It was a long learning curve and a tough one, but I fought my way through it. So now I'm making money in stocks and in futures. So I'm getting diversification. The numbers are getting a lot bigger. Pretty soon people see me living in this nice house. They know, my fellow engineers know what I make probably because they make to the penny the same amount in a commoditized chemical company. If you're a senior engineer and you have 5 years of experience, you're making whatever. And so they started observing me and then starting realizing, well, we ought to do an investment club or something. And then I ended up managing the investment club. And so one thing led to another. I thought I might as well get registered as an investment advisor. So I did that and managed money on the side for friends and relatives and people I ran into. And that pretty much got to the point where it was enough money to pay me a salary to leave the chemical company and lease an office and buy a PDP 1123 computer and program it and hire a secretary to be in that office to answer the phone. And all of a sudden, I'm in the money management business.
So
Wow.
you kind of found this out pretty early on then, that you could take the principles from trend following and apply them to other aspects of your life, make your life easier. Now, this is something we've talked about before. Sean just hit on it. It's really about acceptance, right? And I say it all the time. Trend following has helped me in my life outside of trading just as much or more than it's helped me in my trading. So I'm sure you have other examples in your life of kind of not fighting trends or following trends to avoid bad decisions or make good ones. No?
Well, golf tends to do a lot of that. There's certain things that work and you go that way, and things that don't work, and you kind of start moving away from those and eliminating them from the process. That's one. Exercise. Some exercises like yoga for me has consistently, or at least twice in my life, hurt one of my knees when I'm doing stuff like pigeon pose or whatever. But things like Pilates have never hurt my body. So you lean towards Pilates and sort of away from yoga. In my case, I'm not saying that's the same for everybody, but I have some knees that are from basketball, maybe not as good as everybody else's knees. So I have to be a little careful on some things. In cooking, I've had so many dinner parties here at the house with various friends and relatives and all that. And you get used to, if you were to, I don't know, produce a meal, let me come up with some crazy example, like maybe Brussels sprouts as my side vegetables, which I happen to like. But you start realizing, well, not everybody likes Brussels sprouts. It's kind of it's a dangerous side dish to include in your repertoire. So last night I had, a medley of sweet potatoes and spinach and mushrooms and slivered almonds in an amaretto butter sauce. And it was fabulous. And everybody just loved it as a side dish. So, hey, you log that into the brain. Trend following wise, you go that direction a little bit more in the future. There's lots of examples out there.
Steve, sounds like you and I need to force ourselves over to the Basso house for a fancy dinner. This sounds wonderful.
Well, first you have to get to Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah, Tom's making me hungry right now. It's 5:40 here.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Tom, I love what you're saying. I have a 10-year-old son, and I find myself telling my son this thing all the time of, do more of what's working and less of what's not, right? And it comes up when we're talking about school. It comes up when we're talking about, he plays a lot of sports. Exactly. It comes up with the friends that he has a great time with often, but sometimes he fights with his friends, normal, 10-year-old boy stuff. And I find myself telling him all the time, hey, do more of that because you're enjoying that. You're getting a lot out of it. And this thing here that's frustrating you or getting you upset, maybe do less of that. It's not that important.
I remember we
And
had a case in our high school. We had a gentleman that was the second fastest 100-yard dash guy in the state of New York, his year.
wow.
And he was on the junior varsity football team until the track coach and all the coaches told him, get out of football. You can't injure yourself. You're like the second fastest in the state. You're going to get a full ride to some place for college in track, not football. You're not that big. You can't afford to get hurt. So, but I watched him sophomore year. We were going up against another team, and I was operating some video equipment for the team. So I'm recording all this stuff. And they figured out that this other team was pretty sluggish. And if you could just pitch it out to Ed, he would go around the end, and he was so fast, nobody could ever get to him. So they just kept doing that. We won the game like 48-0. Every time they got the ball, they just throw it over to Ed. Ed would race around the side, another touchdown. And, what works, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, okay, stop doing it maybe. But if it keeps working until it stops working, just keep going with it. And that's what we did.
It's such simple advice, but so important for traders, right? I mean, especially for new traders who, they're out there, they're trying all different kinds of things, right? And as soon as they hit a roadblock on one strategy or a couple down days, then they shift gears and they try something else. I've certainly been guilty of that over the years. But if we could just focus and slow down, just be like, hey, this thing that's working, maybe it's not working today, but it has been working. Let's spend more energy on that.
An example of recent history here. We've had a big down day, the day we're talking here. But before this day, what did we have? We had a lot of people saying, wow, this market's very overbought. It deserves a break. The Fed's going to do this. The economy is not as good as it looks. And, everybody's predicting and they're trying to be gloomy about the market. Meanwhile, the market's making new highs. So from a standpoint of what's working, longs are working. So I'm long, I'm making money, I'm doing fine. But I'm just as quick to then have all these stop orders in there. And I got a bunch of them executed today, pretty early in the day. And, I'm ending up net short and having a great day to the downside. So in other words, do what's working. And if it keeps going down, I'm going to stay short. It works, so just keep going. It's my opinion about what's going to happen tomorrow is useless to my trading. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. If it's going down, I'm going to be short.
Are you weighing events or even paying attention to events like today's FOMC at all? And did you ever?
I am from the standpoint of being a citizen of the world and enjoying and trying to understand behavioral economics. Right. That's just a hobby of mine. It's so I can do an ex post intelligently and discuss economics with people at a cocktail party if I need to, or if I want to. It doesn't have anything to do with my trading.
Got it.
Tom, it makes it sound like you do a lot of reading. Are you a reader, an avid reader?
I do. I read a lot of, I usually have a book going at any one time. More lately, I like to do fiction that's just enjoyable, mystery novel or something like that, an action novel, just to, kind of distract me away from life's activities and calm my mind to go to sleep. But I've read books on sleeping recently, which were good. Casey Means' book on good energy, which is fascinating, on nutrition, things that are going on in the United States with ultra-processed food and a lot of the stuff that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is talking about. I read through that, and just a wide variety of different things that just get me different parts of your brains can sort of like put this together with that, and the 1 + 1 becomes 3. And it just makes you stronger mentally and a little bit more knowledgeable of what's going on out there in the world. So that's what I do my reading on. I don't, and I read, a lot of posts on X, try to stay up with current events. just so that I can react to that. And in some cases, I'm responding to those posts on the basis of my knowledge of behavioral economics. And so that's just to try to understand how people are leaning and how people are thinking is fascinating and sometimes useful.
Are you using X for that? Kind of collecting sentiment?
Yeah, X is completely blown out. All of the others, I'm even on Truth Social. I have an account on. Geez, let's see.
You said you had
Blue Sky?
LinkedIn, Facebook.
We a Parlor. I have accounts on every social media site that's out there, except for Blue Sky. I don't really care about them. But the I have to say, just looking at the followers, looking at the interaction, X is just taken over the world. My world, at least. It's trading and all that. It's all in X.
We found the same for sure.
I almost get nothing out of Facebook, and LinkedIn is a waste of my time.
I was just going to ask, really? Sean and I have been talking about that. We're always like, we should be on LinkedIn. We should do more there. But
Every time I'd say about 50% of the people that want to be part of my network, then the next day send me a message saying, I work enhancing websites, and I noticed your website is really good, but it's not ranked very high in Google.
there's so much spam.
Perhaps you could hire me, and I would be able to guarantee you that you would be one of the top firms found in a Google search. And I have to say, not interested. And it's just a waste of my time.
A lot of spam. The messages get absolute. You get lost, and then you can't even see the good messages that you want to see.
Exactly.
Steve, one thing about what Tom's talking about, all the stuff that he reads, the engagement he gets on X. You and I, with other guests, we've talked a lot about spirals, but we usually talk about them in negative terms, right? Like you go down a negative spiral of bad trading decisions, and then one bad decision begets another bad decision. But Tom, it sounds to me like you've kind of reversed the spiral in a way that you've created a routine for yourself where, you spend an hour a day approximately manually doing the stuff you need to do for trading. And then the rest of the day, you are doing things, whether it's reading, whether it's singing, whether it's engaging with others, things that, bring new ideas into your mind and give new philosophies and give new perspectives. And all of that comes back to your trading, funnels in, and makes you a better trader. That's amazing.
It certainly puts trading in its proper place, I would say, and that probably by itself makes you a better trader. To not be so consumed and not so unbelievably bent out of shape every trade you make, I think that's very useful.
Tom, do you think you'll ever stop trading? Because it seems like it's just such a smooth process for
you. I expect to die sooner or later. And I probably won't be trading then.
That's great.
You'll be on your deathbed checking futures and make sure you need to put an order in for that cocoa position.
Sean and I went to Asia and somehow I guess got by still trading. I don't know if I could do a 21-day cruise though, man. And still take an hour to be in front of the screen every day. That's something.
Well, we got a certain routine on cruise ships. In this case, with the time zones, it's going to be the first time I've ever been in this part of the world in these time zones. So it's going to be very interesting to me, just trying to do what I do. Not stressful or anything, just interesting, because I'll be like doing the afternoon process that I would do normally right after I get off with you guys, which will be like, we're at 3:49 in the afternoon here in Arizona. Normally right about now is when I start the afternoon process. And it'll take me, less than an hour, probably half an hour, something like that. I'll be doing that at like 6:30 in the morning to try to do the time zone change, and it'll be the next day. So I had to take the calendar and literally go into each time zone I'm going to be in for the 21 days and then relate it back to Phoenix to put on the calendar when I'm supposed to try to run my processes and do my things, because it's just going to be so totally opposite of what I do here.
Well, Tom, you might find that you kind of take to that time zone. You might think like, hey, this actually works better for my lifestyle. And the next thing you know, you're going to be living in Southeast Asia. I could tell you, Steve and I were out there last summer 7 cities all across Southeast Asia, and we loved it. There were a lot of wonderful places to live.
Yeah.
So,
Singapore
hey, who
gets
knows?
a great rep. I just mentioned that I was going to be at Singapore at the end of this cruise. And lo and behold, I've been deluged by Singapore traders saying, "Oh, you gotta come and talk to us or something." And I've got a guy who puts together financial groups. He's now renting out the SGX Singapore Exchange 180 seat meeting room, and they're hooking up somebody to give me an interview, and then we're going to open it to live questions. The last day I'm in Singapore before I get on the plane to come home.
That's
And
awesome.
so, you know,
That's great.
one little mention of Singapore, and now I've got an event that I'm going to go to that night. So,
Well,
There's-
Tom,
there's-
you should reach out to Jim Rogers. He's out there. Steve and I got to hang out with Jim Rogers when we were out there. He's a
And-
great guy.
And
yeah,
also
he's
just
a great guy. He trades very differently than I do.
and also the CMT. There's a huge CMT chapter out there as well. They helped us out arrange some events while we were
That's
there.
who's organizing it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Great CMT chapter. Then you're going to meet a lot of the same people that we met.
Yeah.
We had some awesome conversations with the
Yeah, we
traders.
did an event at the Singapore Institute of Management.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful.
But the rest of the time I'm there, I'm doing a city tour. I'm meeting a friend that lives there. We've got an open day just to relax or do whatever we feel like. We'll make it up on the fly. My wife and I like it. I like actually to take free days and schedule an off day on our vacations. So we don't try to book every
Smart.
day.
Yeah.
We're grinding out a vacation, and it kind of gets to be old just running all the time.
You need
So
a rest
sometimes
day.
we take a day off from the vacation and just hang on the ship and work out and get a massage and go to lunch and take a walk around the deck and read a book by the pool and then have cocktails. And, somewhere in there, I run my orders.
What's the temperature supposed to be like while you're there? Because you're going at a much nicer time of year than us. We did a lot of sweating when we were there in
I'm
July.
going to be
Yeah, we
doing
went in the middle of
sweating
July.
too, probably because the average temps about when we're going to be there across the Indian Ocean are going to run around 40 centigrade, which is going to be basically around 100 to 100 plus degrees.
Ooh, okay.
It'll
Not going to be any cooler than when we were there, Steve.
Yeah,
It's hot out there, man.
Yeah, it'll be sweaty.
Yeah, and you're coming from Phoenix, so it'll, in addition to the heat, you're going to be dealing with humidity like you're not used to.
Exactly. It's going to be hard to breathe.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, hey Tom, this has been wonderful, and we're sensitive to the fact that we're now encroaching on your work time, so we want to let you go. But listen, everything you've said in this conversation has been very inspiring. I think there's so much for people to take away from this as far as mindset and putting yourself in a position that you're not stressing about every tick of the market. You're not, glued to your screens because you can't miss something. We should all strive as traders. Doesn't matter what you trade. Doesn't matter what your strategy is. We should all strive to put ourselves in a position where we can kind of take the hands off the wheel, let the market do what it's going to do, and let's just focus on keeping ourselves mentally and physically healthy so that we're there when we need to be there.
Right. You want to be able to see the big picture. And I think trading can suck you in so badly that all you can see is this 5-minute bar that's in front of you.
Well, Steve, I think we have a title for this episode. It's going to have to be, "It Does Not Suck to Be Tom Basso."
Yeah. No, I mean, this has been truly a pleasure. And yeah, you're right, Sean. It's easy to admire a mindset and an attitude like yours, Tom, because it seems like, at least for me, we've had traders on, Sean, who very successful traders who are just miserable, and they'll tell you how bad their life is. And I can't look at that person and say, I want to be like that. Right.
Right.
You want to have a happy life, a fulfilled life, doing all this stuff. And it certainly seems, Tom, you have really figured it all out, my friend.
When Jack wrote me my copy of New Market Wizards and he autographed it, he said, "Tom, out of all the traders in 2 books that I interviewed, you are the trader I most would strive to model."
Yeah, for sure. Easily.
Because you have a life. I mean,
Tom, I'm going to make a note to myself to touch base with you in late January. I want to hear how Singapore went.
Yeah, I mean, we can do this anytime, guys. I always have fun, especially talking about everything. Trading is important, and it certainly is the thrust of what you're doing. But there's a lot of stuff in life that affects trading, your self-confidence and your self-esteem, your self-awareness, all these different, there's so many different topics you can get into on the mental side of trading that I've had to kind of learn over the years, after 50 years, that we can get into that would just be fun to chat about. So yeah, I look forward to chatting with you again.
Let's do another one. Love
Yeah.
it.
Steve, he's the trader we all want to be. That was amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
really.
I've never said this out loud following an interview, Steve, but I think I love Tom Basso. I mean, that guy was amazing.
He's the kind of guy where anybody who listens to them or listens to him immediately wants to be a trader, right? Because he makes it sound so easy, so simple. Like he's obviously figured out all of those trader secrets, right? Where he has truly a great life. And I don't know if we've ever interviewed somebody who is so genuinely happy and living it up the way that he is. So it is downright inspiring.
No, it's amazing. And, his whole, he's a trend follower, and I'm not picking favorites here. There's all types of strategies out there where people can make money. There isn't necessarily one strategy that's better than another. But when I come across guys like Tom, who does trend following, and I see that the way he approaches the market, I see his mindset, and I see how calm and how chill he is. I mean, to me, that's just, man, I really need to be more focused on trend following strategies. And I do some, yes, but that's not all that I do. But, he was talking earlier about how, we do more of what's working and less of what's not. I have other strategies. Maybe they're making money, but they're not working in the respect that, man, they just take a lot of work. They keep me busy. And is that what I want to be? No, I want to be chill. I want to be relaxed. I want to be letting the market do what it's going to do. Man, he's really inspired me to kind of refocus on some things that focus on things that are working better for me.
There are a number of ways to do this, and you're absolutely right. But he's a good example of the fact that you don't have to kill yourself, right? It doesn't have to be some crazy lifestyle. You don't have to be Jesse Livermore, as cool as they make that seem in the book, right? And I think while we don't have to play favorites here, at this point, like, we have the data. Whenever I find myself being like, I want to be like this guy, and a trader really speaks to me, they end up being a trend follower. And I think there is something there. I think it's just a more zen way to go about what we're trying to do here.
Yep. No, I feel the same way every time we talk to Jerry Parker. It's like, man, what are we doing here?
What is the secret? Honestly, Sean, I'm really starting to believe that the secret is simply trend following. I think that's the answer to a lot of our questions as traders.
There we go, folks. We got to the heart of the answer. We found the nugget, the secret sauce. We just need to make it our own, and that's true for all of us, not just you and me, Steve. It's true for everybody.
And golf too. There must be something there as well.
Oh, of course you picked that out of it. Yeah, you got to be doing some more golf. All right, everybody, this was fun. We'll catch you next time.